A boy named Park Yong-ho lives with his mother and his sister Chammy. They had just moved from a small village to the city. Therefore, Yong-ho and Chammy had to start the first day of school again at a new school. Yong-ho goes to an all-boys school, while Chammy goes to an all-girls school. Meanwhile, somewhere else, a geeky student named Jin-soo was being confronted by some school bullies, led by a student named Ki-ta. Jin-soo refused to give them his pocket money when they asked for it. Needless to say, they then grabbed Jin-soo's money by force, and they even hit him. Yong-ho, who happened to pass by the alley, saw the incident. However, he just watched and did nothing, then left. Then it was time for the class to start, and it turned out that Yong-ho was sitting next to Jin-soo, the student who had been bullied by Ki-ta and his friends earlier. During the break time, Ki-ta showed up again, and then warned Jin-soo for having reported him to the school counselor. He was just silent at Ki-tae's threat, as he wasn't the one who reported him. Yong-ho, who was next to Jin-soo, then gave Ki-ta a sharp look, and it seemed that Ki-ta was annoyed at how Yong-ho seemed to be challenging him. Ki-tae then threatened Yong-ho not to do anything to him if he wanted to stay alive. Instead of being scared by Ki-tae's threat, Yong-ho just smiled at him. After Ki-tae and his gang left, Jin-soo asked Yong-ho to be more careful with Ki-ta. When Yong-ho heard Ki-tae's name, he was surprised. Ki-tae's name reminded him of his elementary school friend, and it was true that Yong-ho and Ki-ta had studied at the same elementary school when they were kids. After school, Yong-ho accidentally found a boxing training center, and he felt interested in practicing boxing. When he entered the gym, there was no one there, so he took the opportunity to try out some boxing equipment while he was there. A while later, the owner of the boxing gym came and scolded him for using his equipment without permission. Yong-ho then said that he was interested in enrolling in the training center. The boxing coach then gave him a form to fill out and said that he could start training tomorrow. But Yong-ho said that he wanted to start training as soon as today. From that day on, Yong-ho started practicing boxing with passion and seriousness. Later that night, Yong-ho was worried because his sister hadn't come home yet. He then called her and asked her to come home soon. But Chan-mei didn't want to because she still wanted to enjoy her time at the karaoke club with her boyfriend. Yong-ho felt annoyed, and then he decided to go find her. In the middle of the route, Yong-ho met Ki-tae and his friends. One of Ki-tae's friends called him and asked him to come. Ki-tae then asked for his name, and when Yong-ho said that his name was Park Yong-ho, he finally figured out that Yong-ho was his childhood friend. Ki-tae then invited him to have a drink with him while reminiscing about their childhood. Ki-tae asked about Yong-ho's parents, and Ki-tae told him that his father had passed away. After telling stories and reminiscing about their childhood, Yong-ho later said that he had to leave. A few moments later, Yong-ho finally found Chan-mei, who was having fun with her boyfriend. Yong-ho then called her and took her home immediately. However, Chan-mei snapped and was very upset at how her brother was acting. She said that Yong-ho was too strict with her. The next day, Yong-ho invited Jin-soo to his house because he wanted Jin-soo to help him study math. During the study time, Yong-ho struggled to understand Jin-soo's explanation, and it made him hungry. Yong-ho then invited Jin-soo to eat noodles together. While enjoying the noodles, Jin-soo asked why Yong-ho wanted to study math so badly. Yong-ho then answered that it was his father's wish. His dad wanted him to study hard. From then on, Yong-ho and Jin-soo became close friends. Ki-ta and his gang were spending time together and partying at a karaoke bar. Unexpectedly, a group of third-year students led by the bald guy, Chung-gil, arrived and disrupted them. Given the arrival of Chung-gil and his friends, Ki-tae and his friends could only remain resigned because he didn't dare to fight back against his seniors. At the boxing training center, Yong-ho saw one of the students who was being trained by the coach, and he seemed to feel jealous of him since the coach let him train on his own. But it didn't discourage him, so he practiced on his own by copying the moves that the coach was teaching the other boy. The following day, Ki-tae gang bullied Jin-soo again, and when Yong-ho saw the incident, he tried to defend Jin-soo. A fight finally broke out in the classroom. Yong-ho beat up the bullies one by one, and he was able to take them down easily. Ki-tae was surprised when he saw Yong-ho, who was good at fighting. He then warned him not to interfere with his business, or else Yong-ho would never feel peaceful and comfortable at school. After Ki-tae had gone, a student named Sang-hoon praised Yong-ho for having the courage to go against Ki-tae's gang. Meanwhile, Ki-tae scolded his friends because he felt embarrassed for what Yong-ho did to his gang members. One of Ki-tae's friends then suggested that they should get back to Young-ho to preserve the honor of his gang. Ki-tae stayed silent after hearing his friend's suggestion. It seemed like he didn't want to act recklessly. On the way home from school, Sang-hoon, who had been waiting for Young-ho, then introduced his friend, Hak-soo, to Young-ho. Apparently, Hak-soo was amazed by what Young-ho had done to defend Jin-soo and stop Ki-tae's gang with his martial arts skills. Later on, Young-ho, Sang-hoon, and Hak-soo went to a food stall to have lunch together. It is revealed that Sang-hoon and Hak-soo really hate Ki-tae for bullying the weak students at school. After enjoying lunch together, Young-ho then took Sang-hoon and Hak-soo to the gym. While there, Young-ho revealed to them that he was actually afraid of Ki-tae because he had always been a bully. Sang-hoon and Hak-soo then reassure him that he is not weak and that he can definitely deal with Ki-tae. The other day, Chung-gil beat up Ki-tae's gang members because of how little money Ki-tae gave him. Ki-tae then explained that someone reported their activities to the school board, so they should be careful. However, Chung-gil didn't care for any reason. Coming home from school, Young-ho went to his mother's shop, and when he got there, he saw his mother being seduced by the guests who visited the shop. Young-ho intended to beat up those men, but he decided against it because he had made a promise to his mother not to get into a fight. Young-ho finally decided to go to a boxing center and vent his anger by practicing boxing. After the training, Young-ho accidentally saw Ki-tae's girlfriend, Hai-jin, in front of a motel. At that moment, Hai-jin refused her senior's invitation to have fun with him, but he kept forcing her. Noticing the incident, Young-ho chose not to interfere and then walked away. A while later, after successfully escaping from her senior, Hai-jin came up to Young-ho and asked why he didn't help her, and Young-ho just kept quiet and continued on his way home. On his way home, Young-ho saw a boy who was yelling at his sister, and without a second thought, he punched that boy, but Chan-mei scolded him because he had hurt her boyfriend. Ki-tae and his gang are back to bullying. This time, they asked their victim to steal his mom's money, and then gave all the money to them. Meanwhile, Sang-hoon and Hak-soo invited Young-ho to skit class and have a few cigarettes in the backyard of their school. While enjoying his cigarette, Young-ho asked about a student from Yongjin High School named Jung-il, and Sang-hoon said that Jung-il was famous as a violent bully. Young-ho then said that Jung-il was his sister's boyfriend, and last night he fought with him because Jung-il hurt his sister. Hak-soo and Sang-hoon were amazed by Young-ho's bravery. Right after school, Hai-jin asked Young-ho to go home together, and she offered Young-ho to meet her friend, but Young-ho was not at all interested in the offer. A little while later, they unexpectedly bumped into Ki-tae and his gang. Upon seeing his girlfriend with Young-ho, Ki-tae then called out to Hai-jin and suddenly leaned in to kiss her in front of Young-ho and his friends. It looks like Ki-tae intentionally did this to tell Young-ho that she was his girlfriend. However, Young-ho didn't seem to care and walked away from there. The next day at school, Ki-tae handed over the looted money to Chung-gil, and after receiving the money from Ki-tae, Chung-gil warned Ki-tae to be careful of a senior named Sang-kae. On the way to his house, Young-ho was suddenly intercepted by students from Yongjin High School. They wanted to avenge Young-ho for hitting Jung-il a few days ago. A 1 versus 3 person fight then ensued. Outnumbered, Young-ho looked overwhelmed by his opponents. Fortunately, Sang-hoon and Hak-soo arrived at the right time to help him. The trio finally won the battle against the Yongjin High School kids. Since the bullying incident involving Yongjin High School students, Young-ho has been practicing boxing more and more. There is not a day that he misses practice. He did it all so that he would become stronger and be able to face those bullies. One day, right after school, Young-ho and his 3 friends went to a convenience store, where they bought some snacks and beverages. As they were enjoying the snacks they had bought in front of the convenience store, Ki-tae and his gang came up to them. Ki-tae vented his frustration to Young-ho, who had recently become famous for his bravery against bullies. Sang-hoon tried to fight Ki-tae. He said that there was nothing wrong with Young-ho's move, and then Ki-tae threw a drink can at his face. In order to avoid a fight, Young-ho then asked his friends to get out of there. Young-ho and his friends then had a discussion about what they should do to stop Ki-tae and his gang's violence. Hak-soo encouraged Young-ho to attack Ki-tae, but Young-ho just kept quiet, and then he said goodbye to his friends. On the way home, Young-ho accidentally met Hai-jin again. Hai-jin then invited Young-ho to have dinner together. After having dinner, Young-ho drove Hai-jin home, but on their way, Hai-jin kissed him. Hai-jin said that she was starting to like him. Young-ho was stunned by Hai-jin's confession of love for him. Young-ho then went to his mother's shop, but as usual, he saw his mother being harassed again by a horny man. However, this time, he had enough. He couldn't hold back his anger any longer. Once that pervert left his mother's shop, Young-ho grabbed him and beat him to a pulp. The next day, Sang-hoon and Hak-soo recklessly head over and challenge Ki-ta and his gang to a fight. Before the fight begins, Ki-tae receives a call from Hai-jin asking to break up with him. Ki-ta, who was upset about breaking up with his girlfriend, then vented his frustration to Sang-hoon and Hak-soo. Ki-tae and his gang then ganged up on Sang-hoon and Hak-soo, to the point that they were badly injured. Young-ho asked what happened to the two of them, and Hak-soo then said that Young-ho should know what happened without asking. Hak-soo then asked why Young-ho just kept quiet and didn't fight Ki-tae. Was Young-ho afraid of him? Elsewhere, Jin-soo is again harassed by Ki-tae and his gang. They beat him up so badly that he was hospitalized. Young-ho, Sang-hoon, and Hak-soo then visited Jin-soo in the hospital. They were surprised to see how badly injured Jin-soo was. But even though his hand was broken and his face was badly injured, Jin-soo was still able to smile and say that he was fine. Young-ho's anger has reached its limit. He can't tolerate Ki-tae's outrageous behavior. Sang-hoon then invited Young-ho to avenge Ki-tae and his gang, as well as Hak-soo, who was also set to destroy Ki-tae. Young-ho and his friends' revenge on Ki-tae and his gang begins. Young-ho and his friends went to the place where Ki-tae and his gang used to hang out. As soon as they got there, they challenged Ki-tae and his gang to a fight. A fierce battle ensued. With each of them trying to win. With all their might, Young-ho and his friends finally won over Ki-tae and his gang. Since the defeat of Ki-tae and his gang, Young-ho and his friends have been hunted by Sang-ki's gang. But Young-ho and his friends are no longer afraid. They are ready to face the bullies who disturbed their peaceful lives. Kun-gil, who was very angry because Young-ho had defeated Ki-tae and his gang, then ordered his men to look for Young-ho in his class. But none of Young-ho's classmates told them where Young-ho was at the moment. Young-ho was apparently enjoying a cigarette with Sang-hoon and Hak-soo. After defeating Ki-tae and his gang, Young-ho is now a student who is feared by bullies, but respected by his friends. Suddenly, Jin-soo came and told him that Chun-gil's boys were looking for him. Without any fear, Young-ho and his friends rushed to find Chun-gil to settle the issue between them. Following the fight, Young-ho and his friends were called by their homeroom teacher to take responsibility for their behaviors. Their teacher then warned them not to repeat their mistakes, otherwise the school would expel them.